All right, we're going to read chapter 14. And your joke today, what do you call a dinosaur toot? A blast from the past. Chapter 14, Ship's Cry. Colin's waterlogged lifeboat was so close to the ship it was bumping against the hull. If the crew couldn't steer them away from the Benares, they would be sucked down with it. The crew frantically paddled with their hands, trying to get as far away from the ship as they could. It was ludicrous to paddle with hands in that storm. Colin knew. Human hands could not overpower the high waves and the wind, but they were desperate. They had to get away from the ship. Bess held on to the keel and saw a very welcome sight. Beth Cummings had made it to the overturned lifeboat too. She managed to swim a little and get back to the boat. Now she was trying to get on. Bess held out one hand, and by hanging on with the other, she helped Beth up onto the lifeboat. Now the two friends clung to the keel together, Bess on one side, Beth on the other. Mary Cornish's boat, Lifeboat 12, was quite crowded. Not only was Mary there with 6 corps boys, but there were 30 or more Lascards, a few sailors, and Boden Nagarski, the Polish businessman who had been strolling the deck. Mary still didn't know what Father Roy O'Sullivan was lying at the bottom of the boat, miserably sick. All she knew was that she had to hold on to the boys and keep them safe. Luckily, Lifeboat 12 was loaded perfectly. It took in no water and dumped nobody out. This boat had a good skipper, which was and would be a lifesaver. On the boat with Mary, Fred Steels could hear people shouting and screaming. There was just enough light to see people, dead people, floating face down. Looking at the ship, Fred noticed a light moving on the deck, back and forth. He knew everybody should have been off by now. It was sinking fast, the ship's stern in the water, the bow tilting up, the bow tilting up. "What's that light?" he asked one of the sailors. "That's the captain," the sailor answered. Captain Nicholl was walking around with a flashlight, trying to make sure everybody was off the ship. The Commodore Admiral McKinnon had gotten into a lifeboat, but when a wave struck, he was thrown out. He didn't resurface, and he did not survive the night. But Captain Nicholl intended to go down with his ship. Fred kept his eye on the ship, and it seemed to be going down in slow motion. Then all of a sudden he saw it dive, and away it went. Mary Cornish watched the ship go down too. The lights had gone on, and the city of Benares looked as if it were on fire. Colin missed that moment. Fortunately, the luck of the sea had been on the side of those in his lifeboat. The waves pushed the boat far enough away from the liner, that it didn't get sucked down. Colin heard quite a rush of water and noise, and the ship slid almost all the way down, with just a bit showing. He turned away briefly, and when he turned back, the ship was gone. It was more than he could take in. Everything from the ship, gone. It wasn't just the engines and the machinery, he thought, but everything that had been there for the passengers. The lounge with the bar, the dance floor, the library, the kitchen, the food, the bedding, the chairs he'd made sail across the deck with his friends, the whole shipboard community, where that all had once been. There was now nothing. Barbara Betch's lifeboat was steady and full of people, maybe 60. They'd managed to pull one person from the water into their boat. Barbara thought he was a sea cadet. All seemed to be going well, and despite her wet feet, she was still warm enough for now. Barbara saw the Benares tilt up against the horizon and disappear. She had no idea where her mother and sister and brother were. Were they still on deck? If so, that was the end. But somehow she just knew they were fine. She thought, "I don't believe they would drown in front of my eyes, and that I wouldn't feel anything. I can't believe that something as dreadful as that would happen, and I wouldn't feel a tremor." Barbara was right. Her family had not gone down with the ship. From their raft, Derek and Sonia Beach watched the ship sink. Sonia thought, "Oh dear, my John doll has gone down with all those lovely clothes. I will never see him again." But Derek was thinking about the ice cream. "What a waste of ice cream," Derek said to Sonia. "What a waste," she agreed. "All that ice cream. They lived for that ice cream, and now all those flavors gone, lost." Clinging to the keel of the overturned lifeboat, Bess Walter heard a terrible noise, like a groan. The ship was gone. Later, a sailor asked Bess whether the Benares cried when it went down. "Yes," she told him, "it groaned." "How'd you know?" "Ships have souls," he told her. "Ships cry when they sink." The German torpedo had destroyed the city of Benares. Captain Landless Nicholl, who desperately wanted to speed ahead to save the children and all his passengers from just this fate, had indeed gone down with his ship. The torpedo had been tyrannous and strong. Dozens of people had already died. but it wasn't over yet. The storm was tyrannous and strong, too. It wasn't letting up. Beth and Bess and Betches, Mary Cornish and the 6 boys in her lifeboat, Jack Collin, and all those who were still alive, had to make it through the tyranny of the high waves, the wind, the rain, the hail, the bitter cold. They had to hold on and hope for rescue.